Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on the Colombians Football Report. Today we will be going over day 21 of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now before we get into the games, make sure to subscribe to the channel because 83% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you subscribe so that I can continue to grow and make better content in the future. Now, the first game that took place today was England versus the DR Congo. And man, this was a banana peel game for England. They really struggled at times in this game. The DR Congo got off to a very fast start. They had more possession for like the first 7 or 8 minutes of the game. And after Mbemba sent a long ball to Sipenga, the man who plays in the second division of Spain, he managed to dribble inside the box and he scored the first goal of the game. He managed to hit it near post, right past Pickford. I think Pickford should have done a lot better with that shot, but still, Sipenga with a great finish. And the DR Congo were shocking everyone, and they had the lead against England. And from that moment on, England, they started to have all the possession and they started to go on the attack because they desperately needed their equalizer. Going 1-0 down to the DR Congo was not a good start at all for England. This is a team that everyone expects to have a deep run in this World Cup, and they definitely had their chances. Jude Bellingham had two headers that were both saved by Mpasi. There was a shot from Rashford that was cleared off the line by Wan-Bissaka. Harry Kane could have had a penalty, but it turned out that he dived. And yeah, it felt like the DR Congo, they had the lead in that first half because they were defending very well. Both Mbemba and Antoine Xavier were having a good game. And Mpasi, he was the man of the match at that moment. He was saving literally everything. England honestly could have easily tied the game up, but Mpasi was there for his team, and he's had a great World Cup. He has had multiple good performances. I wonder if that will mean that a bigger club will take a look at him in the summer transfer window. And here's the thing, the DR Congo, they could have had the 2-0 lead in that first half because there was another very good chance that they had where Wisa, he received a very good cross. It was Wan-Bissaka who put in a fantastic cross to Visa, who was right in front of goal, and he managed to miss it. He missed the target. He hit the post. And the DR Congo, they really should have had another goal in that moment. But he fluffed his lines. And that's such a shame because we saw it having such a good World Cup. And it will come back to bite them. Because in the second half, England, they kept up their intensity. They kept forcing the DR Congo's defense into tough situations. They kept forcing saves out of Mpasi. But eventually, they just broke through. A fantastic cross from Anthony Gordon, who came on, found Harry Kane, and he managed to score with only 15 minutes left in the game. They were finally equalized. England, they definitely deserved it because in that second half, especially, they didn't let the DR Congo have any real chances at all. And England, they kept pushing. And it was a great header from Harry Kane, to be fair to him. There was nothing Mpasi could do to keep that one out. And they were back level 1-1. And England now had the momentum, so they kept pushing on and they will end up having another chance where I think Mpasi had to make another save, but the ball is still kept in play somehow. England still kept the chance alive. Gordon, he got the ball with Harry Kane on the edge of the box from a relatively tough angle, and he just smashed it right into the top of the goal, and he gave England the 2-1 lead in the 86th minute. And for a goal like that, there's just really no way you could stop it. That's just world class. The reality is that no matter what the DR Congo did, they couldn't stop that goal at all. It was a brilliant hit from Harry Kane, and he scored his fifth goal of the 2026 World Cup. So he was the savior today for England. And despite the DR Congo trying to push on, and they even had a last minute free kick that went over, they couldn't equalize the game. And England, they won 2-1. So now they're in the round of 16 where they will face Mexico in the Estadio Azteca in the high altitude. It'll be very interesting to see how England do in that game. While they did deserve to win this game because they really put a lot of pressure on the DR Congo, I do kind of worry for them when they have to play in the high altitude because that's a game where they really could lose. Mexico are playing very well. The crowd is going to be all against England, and there will be a lot of altitude that England will have to deal with. It's going to be a very interesting game. But DR Congo are now eliminated, and it was a very honorable effort from them. It's just their second ever World Cup and their first in 52 years. Next, we have Belgium versus Senegal, and this was a crazy game. This game started with Senegal as the better team. They were definitely much closer to scoring a goal. Ismail Assar missed a very big chance very early in the game, and Senegal, they kept pushing on. They had more possession, they had more attacking opportunities, and eventually they took the 1-0 lead in Seattle thanks to a brilliant cross from Sadio Mane, which reached the head of Ismail Assar, and his header hit against the post, but Diarra was there to tap it in. There was nothing Courtois could do to save that, and Senegal had a deserved 1-0 lead, and right before the water break as well. And it really felt like in that moment that we could have seen Belgium fail again at another World Cup because they truly were not playing as a better team in this game. Senegal were going all out against them, using that momentum that they had from their 5-0 win in the last game to take this game by storm in that first half. And while Belgium, they did have their fair share of shots as well, there was nothing really too dangerous. They really didn't manage to trouble the goalkeeper that much in that first half at all. And by halftime, Senegal had a deserved 1-0 lead. And then in the second half, I expected to see Belgium up their intensity, obviously, but the game still continued how it ended in the first half, with Senegal continuing to try to push for a second goal. And they would get that second goal very early in the second half after a beautiful pass from Niakate, who sent the ball from like the halfway line all the way over the top to Ismail Assar to run onto, and he managed to finish it. He didn't miss this chance like he did with his first chance. Senegal had a deserved 2-0 lead, and it truly felt like in that moment that Senegal, they were going to hold on to a historic victory and that they would move on, that a third place team in Group I would eliminate the best team in Group G. But then this is where Senegal started to make their mistakes, because instead of trying to push on for another goal, or instead of at least trying to control the game, they kind of just sat back and they let Belgium have the ball. And when you let a team have the ball, when you already have the lead, it helps them grow a little bit more confidence. And that will happen with Belgium. They had more opportunities. Luka Bacchio had a brilliant shot that just went right past the post. Senegal got very lucky to escape with that chance. The substitute, Thomas Meunier, he sent in a good cross to Romelu Lukaku, another substitute, and he just managed to finish it. A great finish from him. It was from a relatively tough angle, and the goalkeeper was there to cover, but he still couldn't save it. So it was a good goal from him. And now Belgium, they had one back, and there were still 4 minutes to go in regular time, and also stoppage time would needed to be added as well. So Belgium truly felt like they could get back into this game, because at this point Senegal, they definitely were making mistakes. They were sitting back. They let Belgium have all of the ball, and even after Belgium scored, it was still like that. And then just 3 minutes after Belgium, they cut the deficit. They managed to tie the game out of nowhere. A brilliant cross from Trossard managed to find the head of Tielemans, who was inside the box, and he managed to score the header. Tielemans is one of those players that you never expect to score a header, but he did it today. Now, granted, it was a huge mistake from the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper went out of his goal to try to claim the ball, and he couldn't do it, despite the fact that he had a huge height advantage on Tielemans, but he still couldn't reach the ball. Huge mistake from him. And Belgium were now back level 2-2 after being 2-0 down literally just minutes before. They were back level. Truly incredible scenes. The game went to extra time as a result of that, and in all honesty, Belgium, they could have even won it in the last few minutes, because there was a good chance that they had, but it resulted in nothing. But in that first half of extra time, the game kind of leveled out a little bit more. Senegal, I think they kind of woke up, and Baye looked decent on that wing. But in the second half, Belgium, they upped their intensity a bit more, and they eventually had a chance where they somehow managed to hit the post from close out. It was Luka Bacchio, one of his shots hit the post. We're inside the box. It was a huge chance missed from Belgium, and it felt like in that moment that was Belgium's chance to win it, and now that we were going to a penalty shootout. But it wasn't like that, because it turns out when Luka Bacchio first got his ball, right before that happened, Tielemans was fouled inside the box, and VAR, they had to check it, and they checked it, and they would end up giving the penalty. It was Lamine Camara. He committed a foul precisely on Yuri Tielemans, and this penalty was definitely controversial. But I have to say, I do think it was a penalty because even though the touch was minimal, it was still enough to prevent Tielemans from getting the ball in the initial cross. And at the end of the day, if you foul someone and that makes it impossible for them to get the ball inside the box, then it is a penalty. And it looked like Lukaku was going to take it at first, but in the end, Tielemans took it and he managed to score. He scored it convincingly. And Belgium, they won 3-2. Senegal had one last free kick at the end, but they sent it to the moon. And Belgium, they won an incredible comeback. This reminds me when they beat Japan 3-2 after being 2-0 down back in 2018. So this is a huge win for Belgium. Let's see if this could finally be the year where they could make it far again, just like they did in 2018. Meanwhile, as for Senegal, this is very disappointing. This is a team that made it to the AFCON final. You can debate whether or not they won that AFCON, but what you can't debate is that they truly messed this game up. They were in cruise control. They just let Belgium have the ball. And let that be a lesson for every team that still has to play in this round. Do not let your opponent have possession after you go up 2-0, because if they score one goal, then all the momentum swings towards their way, and you could end up like how Senegal did in this game. Truly bad performance from Senegal, and not a good day for African football because the DR Congo, they bottled a 2-1 lead. Granted, it was against a very tough team. Meanwhile, Senegal, they bottled a 2-0 lead, and this one was even worse because I don't think Belgium are all that. Senegal, they really had a huge chance to put a statement win out there, but they just couldn't do it. And lastly, we have the United States versus Bosnia, and this game, well, it started for the few minutes with Bosnia having more corner kicks. They had a couple more opportunities, but that was very early on, and it was nothing too dangerous. But after that, it was all the United States. They were dominating Bosnia after those first initial minutes, and they really deserved to have a lead. There was a chance where the United States, they won the ball high up the field, and it's made its way to Balogun. He had Pulisic in support, but he didn't pass it to him, and he still finished it. In the United States, they thought they had a 1-0 lead, but the goal was disallowed because Balogun was just barely offside. But despite that offside decision, it still felt like the United States, they were definitely in this game. It still felt like that they were definitely the better team in this game, and that goal was going to come eventually, and that goal would eventually come because after a through ball from McKennie was intercepted, it still made its way to Balogun, who brilliantly kept the ball under his control and just finished it right into the corner where the goalkeeper Vasil couldn't save it, and the United States, they had a deserved 1-0 lead against Bosnia and Herzegovina right at the end of the first half. I will say though, the referee in this game was quite poor, and it showed in the second half because there was a very controversial red card in that second half. Balogun, he tried to get the ball. He didn't see that he had Muhademovic right behind him, and he accidentally tackled him. But that's because Muhademovic got in front of him when Balogun was looking towards the ball. He wasn't even looking at the defender. But upon a VAR review, the referee still gave a red card to Balogun, which I thought was very harsh. And despite the fact that the United States in the second half, they were still dominating like they were in that first half, this was a lifeline for Bosnia. And after this red card, Bosnia, they started to dominate a little bit. They had a couple more corner kicks, a couple more set pieces, but they couldn't make use of their chances. And the United States were also very good at just being very strong defensively, holding on. It felt like that Pochettino must have taught them something about CONMEBOL physicality, because it did feel like the United States were defending like a CONMEBOL team. Even with 10 men, they still stayed compact. And when they went on the counterattack, they tried to keep the ball, and they definitely have the players to do so because there's so many talented players with the ball at their feet in the United States team. And they would end up scoring a second goal, but it was then disallowed because Pulisic was slightly offside when he scored. So it was a correct decision. Granted, it must have been frustrating for the United States, obviously, because he was just barely offside. And if that goal counted, that would have really calmed things down for the United States. But eventually, they would get that goal to relieve the nerves because after a free kick was won on the edge of the box. Tillman, he stepped over it to take it. And what did Tillman do? He hit it on target, and Vasil could have done a lot better to save it, but it doesn't matter because it was still a great shot from Tillman, and it was on target, and it went into the back of the net in the 82nd minute. And the United States, they won 2-0 as a result of that goal. And despite the fact that they were down to 10 men, it still felt like when the United States scored that second goal, that was the goal to seal the deal. They just needed to continue doing what they were doing for those 18 minutes when they were down to 10 men, and they would be good to go for the rest of the game. And that's what they would do. Now, Alazbegovic had a very good chance that just whiskered past the post, but that was probably the best chance that Bosnia had throughout the entire game. And besides that, it was still a very comfortable win for the United States. There was also a shot that Richards had to block, but he did a great job with blocking that. The United States defense has been fantastic at this World Cup. And there was a lot of doubt about the defense because a lot of people were doubting Tim Ream's age. A lot of people were doubting whether Freeman was ready to start at this World Cup. But both of them have been spectacular at this tournament. And Chris Richard obviously has been very good. That was expected because he is the United States' best center back on paper. And despite the red card, which means that Balogun will miss the game against Belgium unless if the United States decide to appeal the red card and FIFA accept the appeal, they will be without Balogun against Belgium, but they will be playing in Seattle, a stadium where the United States are always very strong in because the support in Seattle and the atmosphere there is unlike any other soccer stadium in the United States. So I have the United States as favorites to win that game. And if they win that game, they would reach the quarterfinals, and that would be an insane achievement for the United States. Bosnia, they had a very respectable effort. They obviously eliminated Italy from this World Cup in the qualifiers just a few months ago, and now they made it to the knockout stages for the first time in their history in a World Cup. But they have now been eliminated against the United States. But it's still a very young team, despite the fact that this was definitely Edin Dzeko's last game for Bosnia at a World Cup. The rest of the team is still very young. There's some great talent, and the future of Bosnia is bright. But so is the future of the United States, and they are now in the round of 16, and they are favorites to win against Belgium for sure. So that's going to do it for today's video. Please make sure you leave a like on the video, and please make sure that you subscribe to the channel like I mentioned at the start. I have nothing more to say, and have a good night everyone.